Task number this task actually number 4. It is asking us to generate a class that instantiates 5 members or 5 objects, and we will use 2 different constructors. Those 5 let's say classes here. Let's say 5 instances, and to use 2 different constructors to initialize 2 groups of, let's say, instances. The instances number 1 actually will initialize those parameters. This is actually the variables we are going to initialize through the first constructor, the day, the month, and the year. And actually we are going to initialize the D2 as per the number of the, actually as per the order. Yes, it's just a matter of name. The D2 with the day, let's say 12, the D3 object with the day 25, and actually those are here. Actually, what we have to understand is that we are using more than one constructor to initialize different objects with different values. In the main, we call actually it's only an instance, and trivially it will have the default value. We will see actually first of all, and based on that, we will see what does mean we are segregating the values with each object or with each instance. Number 2, number 3, number 4, and so on. And this is actually for the last one. So here. Let's dig in first of all. In a minute, I'm going to launch my online compiler. Yes, great. So here, no need for this statement in this location here, and I need a class here in between. As per the request here, we have to respect the name of the class if it's actually mentioned. It's not mentioned. I'm going to use the name class date or dates. Say dates. Scope terminated here. Great. So here I'm going to initialize. Actually, it's an int for the day, and it's an int for the month, and it's an int also for the year. Great. The variables I'm initializing here. So I'm going to actually, as per the request, also I'm going to create a method named getDate as per the request. Let's say getDate here, which is actually to initialize those. Let's to bring the output, not to initialize. We're going to here bring in output those 3 parameters which they have to be initialized already. Before I do anything here, I'm going to state or specify the access specifies for each of them. Actually, here the variables I want to set them as private for security reasons, and this method here I'm going to set it to be public here, to be utilized outside of this class. Public for the method and private for the parameters, no more no less. Great. So in here in this getDate, simply I'm going to just bring actually it's an output which is a cout. I do not need any return. So thus here, let me finish this one first. Let's say here the date is less than. I'm going to say here day less than here less than month less than here separator then after year, and let's bring a new an end of line. Sorry. Great. So here this actually simple statement is to bring an output. So here I do not need to be a function, so I'm going to say it's a void. The return type for this method is a void. So finish. We are done. It remains the initialization of those parameters here, since we're going to bring them in output here. So we have to give them actually values. What is the output here? The day. What is the value of the day here? Which day? Is it today? Is it yesterday? Is it last day? And so on. What is it? The month the same, and the year the same thing here. If I execute, there will be no output now. If I execute, no output at all. We did not do anything in the main. So let's just create an instance from this class, and I'll make you understand what that means. We have to initialize. So the dates here, I'm going to copy. I'm going to say dates space D1. Okay, semicolon. Here, this D1, it would call this getDate here. I'm going to say here D1 dot getDate. semicolon. Execute now. The output is the date is something. It's not recognizable. We cannot find anything. They are not initialized. So here we have to create actually a method to set the date here. To set the date, actually, we are going to utilize to give day. Let's say values for those variables. I'm going to say here day equals, let's say 24, like today. A month to equal 4, and year to equal 2022. Let's say something like that. I create this one. Before I call this one, I'm gonna let's say the same way here. I'm gonna call the set date. Set date. Like we created the get date, I'm creating the set date now. Now خلاص, we are setting the values now here for the day 24 and the month 4 and the year 22. Will it change the value here? Let's check. Let's check. Execute. We have an error here. We have a problem here. Let me check the errors first. Set date. Declaration of set date with no type. Yeah, exactly here. The set date has to have actually a return type. It's a procedure so far. I'm going to say it's a void. Example. Execute again. Good. It's the same. The date is nothing. There is no date here. There is no date. Why? Well, actually, we call this a date. But see, the order of the method matters. The set date, we are setting the values after the call. It's not okay. I'm going to change the order here. I'm going to change the order. The set date will be first, then after get date. The set, then the display. Let's execute. Here it is. 24 April 22. So it works very fine now. It is very well working right now. I'm going to move to the next step, which is the matter of the use of the constructors. So instead of using this set date, I'm going to use something different here. I'm going to write the following thing here. I'm going to write the following thing here. I'm going to say dates here, and in between here, I'm going to say day equal 24. Say 24, yeah, okay. Semicolon. Month equal 4. Year equal 2022. Semicolon. Same values. Same values is okay. Good. I'm gonna now leave everything inside the main, and I'm gonna execute. Actually, as per the definition, you have to know this is a constructor. Why? It has the same name as the class, and it has no return type, and it is initializing the state of the class, which is those parameters here. So it is a constructor. This one is a constructor. This is a constructor here. Okay, let me give a command here. Constructor. Okay, constructor. Constructor here, it initializes the variables with those values. Now, if I execute, we are getting the same value. I'm gonna change this set date into command. I'm gonna delete this set date. I'm gonna delete it completely. Cut. There is no set date now. Execute. Still the same output. Still the same output. From where it comes, because of this D1, is referring to the constructor values here. Those are the default values. If I change these dates here, for example, to say dates 2, now it will give us an error saying that we have to give a data type, no type. I'm going to write void here, for example. Okay, execute. Give us actually something strange. There is no values at all. It has to be a constructor. See here, the constructor, same name as the class, and no return type, and it is initializing the state. Execute. Yes, it gives us the values. It works very fine. So the constructor is given an impact. So this set date, we do not need it so far. Using the constructor, we do not need the set date. This one we do not need completely. Okay. Now we are able to see the impact of the constructor And based on that, we continue. So here we are going to use the constructors in plural to initialize the, as per the request of the question here. Let me come back. We are going to assign the different values. D1 will set the date to 12, and let's say the D3 the date to 25 and the month 11. The D4 we set the date 7, month 0, month 10, sorry, and the year 2005. Things like that. So we respect the values here, no more, no less. Okay. Let me come back to my compiler. Yes, here it is. To do so, I'm going to create, actually, to initialize, I'm going to generate actually a second D2, D3, D4, D5. We have 5 instances as per the question. Here they are. If I execute, the same output will be there. There is no change at all. We are using only the D1 to call the get data only. So here, the D5 is the object to call the get date. Actually, I come back. I'll start with the last part of the question. If we come back here, D5 will be utilized to get the get date. Actually, it is the one to call the get date. Something like that. Actually, we are going to use this get date because he's saying use the print date also the question. So whatever, get date, set date. It is to be set with the D5, he's saying, the D5. I'm going to change the D5 here only, start with that one. Let me execute to see the effect. Still the same, nothing changed. Still the same, nothing changed. So it works very fine. Okay, D1 will initialize the day with, said the day, he said, as per the question. Execute here. Nothing changed when I change the D5 here. The question said that D1 has to initialize the day with 12 and the month with 11. Let's do so. To do so, how to pass the values to the D1? How to pass the values to the D1? We have to generate a second constructor, dates, that has parameters. Int D, int M, and int Y. Has parameters. This constructor, and it initializes the day with D, the month with Y, the year with the Y, the month with the M, sorry, the month with the M. Yeah, perfect. So here, we're working very fine. Now, how to call this constructor in the main? So here's simple. Dates. When I say D2, 12, 11. Simple. Then it's enough here for now. Let me check the D3 and the D4. D2 is only the day. D3 is the day and the month. D4 is the day, the month, and the year. Okay. As per the request here. D2 is only the day. D3 is the day and the month. D4 is the day, the month, and the year. Okay, let's do that. So here, D2 is only the day, no month. The D3, the D3 is the day, which is the 25. Month is 11. D4 is 7. The day and the month and the year. 7 months, 10 year, 2005. 10. The year is 2005. Okay, great. So here, to avoid such an issue, here's a problematic view. So D2, D3, D4, it's utilized. So here we do not need them here. So I'm going to delete them from here. They are utilized here. Let me execute to see the result. Let me execute to see the result. If there is any error, we will see. We will see. We cannot assign actually int m here. He's saying there's a space. Yeah, here. First of all, sorry. Yes, let's execute again to see the correct annotation. Okay, good. So here we do not have a constructor with one parameter. We do not have a constructor with two parameters. Same here, the same thing like that. So here, yes, good. So we are expecting to give actually three arguments here. We cannot use one argument only. We cannot give two arguments only. It's problematic here. Because of this, I'm going to give the default value. We saw that at the beginning of this course here. Default value for the parameters here. So D4, so the day is 24, the month is 4, and the year is 2022. Those are the default values. If being utilized, otherwise we will utilize the called value. Here, the day will be 12 only, not 24. Let me see now if there's any error. Still, we have actually a problematic view somewhere here in the D1. Overloaded dates. Here he's saying. Is ambiguous. D1. I'm trying to understand the error only here. I'm just reading the messages. Yeah, exactly. So here for this one, I'm going to change it into a constructor. So I'm going to change it into a command. I'm going to just cancel the work with this one here for now. Avoid the ambiguity. Yeah, and still we have in D5. Yeah, it's not initialized. So here I'm going to just initialize the D5 here. D5, here it is. I declared D5 to be utilized here. Let's execute now. Okay, let's see what is the error now. Ambiguity. It's a matter of ambiguity still. Overloaded dates. Yeah, because we are given so default value, so it is considered to be an overloaded here. So I'm going to cancel the work with this. I'm going to here actually to avoid this overloading problem. I'm going to give the day here in D, only the day, and I'm going to give it here D. That's it. So the D here, and it's default value 24. That's it. That's it. Just to avoid the overloading, the problem with the overloading. Good. So yes, I haven't still here. To tell you what, because one parameter it is already called here. So we're having a problem. So no, I return everything as it was. And I'm going to change this one to comment. Alas. Avoid it. Avoid it. That's it. To avoid any problem. That's good. So it works very fine here. It works very fine here. There's no problem at all. It was actually an ambiguity problem, which is an overloading problem. So I avoided it by canceling the work with this no parameter constructor. So here, yes, so here, what I'm going to do here, actually, just I'm going to eliminate the 2, 4 here. The date is not having any default value. I'm not going to give any default value here. And I want to return this one into operation. And we'll see the result now. Keep it. It was given actually an error. Still, it works very fine. There is no error at all. So here, we are eliminated the default value. There is no equal 24 here. What it will use the 12 when we call the D2. When I call the D5, it calls the get date. The values that this get date will give is the one set by the constructor. And in our case here, the D5 is given the default value, which is this one here. The D5 is from the constructor dates that has no parameter here. It is the 25. But if I give D2 here, D2, not D5, D2, see, D2 call the get date, D2. Will it remain here 24? We will see. 12. It is 12 only. It has been changed. Why? Because it is using a default value here. So sorry, actually the pass by value here, which is the 12. This way, actually, we're able to manipulate two constructors. And let's continue here, actually, as per the request. D5. I'm going to return it actually D5 as the question is saying. So D5 is to call the get date, and also the print date. Actually, the one to print the date. It's the print date. Is given the name print date here. So it seems to be this get date is to set the date. To set the dates. What are the dates? And the print date is the get date. So let's adjust that accordingly. So here, I'm going to change the set date to get date, and the get date to print date. Print date. So okay, execute. Nothing there. Nothing is empty. To bring the output, I'm going to call this print date. To call the output, I'm going to call this print date here. So here, after this get date, it will be d5 dot print date. Semicolon. Simple. Execute. It is taking too much time. Let's just wait for it to finish, first of all. Okay, the date is 24 it works very fine. It works very fine. So we get the output from this print date only. From this print date only. This is the print date, so it has the output. That's good. So this way we are able to manipulate different constructors with different parameter numbers. And we made actually constructor overloading, and we use the default values. The default values actually are starting from the right. Here, the right. Actually, we cannot give a default value to the day and we give those empty. We cannot. The rule says we have to start with the right value, then we go in. But the left one we can leave. The most left, we can leave them empty without default value. We can. But the right, no. If we use default values, it has to be started with the right parameter, the most right parameter, like I'm doing right now. So let's pass to the next task. Yeah, okay. Task number 5, let's say, I believe. Yes, here it is. It is saying actually we are going to create a sort of a class to call those methods, no more, no less. And those methods, they have to do different tasks working with shapes, no more, no less. The methods actually they are going to be testing the, let's say, the characteristics of this shape here, this rectangle in this task, as per the name. Get the date here, the measurement of the, let's say, borders, calculate area, the perimeter, and is it a square or a rectangle? Is it a square? To check if it's a square or not, it has to return actually a Boolean value, true or false. Yes, square. No, it's not square. Let's dig in. So let's create this task. So new. I'm going to create actually a new interface. So here, let me just swap to my online compiler. I'm going to create my class. Okay, in here, I'm going to terminate my class. Good. So in here, I'm going to just, since it's actually a shape that has actually two borders, I'm going to say it's an int width, and it's an int, let's say, height. Semicolon, semicolon. Okay. I'm going to start with the first method, which is to be a procedure void get or set, say, set data, which are the width and the width as per the question here. I want to say here width, the same width variable equals, let's say, I want to give parameters here. I want to give parameters better. In W and H equals W here, and height, there's a type here, equals H. So here, width. Okay, great. So here, calc area, it's also a procedure I'm going to do. So here, calc area, let's say here, scope here, I'm going to define the inline method. It's the width by the I'm going to make it actually a return. So here is an int and return width by the height. So simple, خلاص done. Third method, which is calculate parameter. So it's also I'm going to make it actually a function, not a procedure. Calc parameter. Scope here, it starts and it ends. Immediately I'm going to make a return. Return what? In between two parentheses, width multiply by height multiply by 2. All of them. So simple, semicolon. Right here, actually, like so, we finished. The E, I'm gonna just write it in small. Last one is a square. So is a Boolean. So I'm gonna say bool. I'm gonna say bool is square. It has to return a Boolean value. Is square. The scope here. And what actually it has to do with this one? How to check if actually the shape in question is a square or not? It has to say yes, it's a square. No, it's not a square. How to? Simple, because we know that the square measurement, the borders, they are equal. The width and the height, they are having the same, let's say, same measurement. So I'm going to say it's an if statement. What? If the width is equal in value, the height, okay, just let's say I'm going to say cout. The shape is, I want to say there is no cout. He's saying us actually to return a Boolean, so there is no output. return, I'm going to say true, semicolon. Else, return false. Done. We are done. So it returns the true and false in the two cases. This or that. Boolean. The return is a Boolean. Is true or false usually. So done. We are done with the methods. Here we call them inside the main, no more or less. So here I'm going to generate an instance from this rectangle. Rectangle. I'm going to say R semicolon. Then R dot start with the set data. I'm going to give values here, for example, 5, 10. So this is a rectangle. It's not a square. So I have an issue here. Is set date int private with something set date. Yeah, exactly. The X specifies. So for this one, for the parameters, it's a private, and for the methods, all of them, for the methods, it's not here. So here in the class, private, and the methods is public. Good. No, it's a colon. Great. So let's execute now. It does not do anything. Nothing is there. There is no output at all. So very good, very good. So it works very fine. No, because we did not bring in a C out. So I'm going to say here now C out. C out less than. The shape, let's say, area is less than R dot. Let's say the shape, let's say the shape here, the shape area. So R dot call perimeter. No, call calc area. Less than. It's another line. So good here. I'm gonna generate. I think the shape. Let's say parameter is calc parameter. Yeah, very good. Before we continue, let's just test. We have issues. That's good. Non-static member of function int rectangle. So it's our class. This is actually the compiler problem, no more or less again. Declare the calc area. It seems to be we are just calling different names. Calc area.
Mr. The error in end line.
If you see the number, just tell, please. Calc. is not the place of the error, I know. But even though. The message is clear here. Non-static actually function, it has not to be utilized in this context. But in our scenario, we are not in need of a static method. I do not have to create. He's saying that we have to use a static method. I do not have to use a static method. No. So there is another problem. 100% here. So data, calc area. Yes, here actually methods. Execute. Very fine. The shape is area is 50. The shape parameter is 50 because of the parentheses only, because of the parameters here. Sorry, parentheses here, no more, no less. So here it works very fine this way. Just remain in the last method. It's square. How to call it now? Am I going to write here, for example, r dot is square this way here, and that's it? Simple. No, it has to return us yes or no. So I'm going to use here the if statement. If statement. Close the parenthesis here. See out less than. The shape is a square. Less than an end of line. Else, see out is not a square. Okay, here less than an end of line also. That's good. So here, let me explain this test here. This test here, I'm just passing a one call to a method that has to return a bool. What is the bool? The true or the false. Means the result here, it would be written here all in what I'm highlighting right now here. And this block here, it would be written either true or false at the end of the day. If it's true, he will write me this out. Else means this one is false. It would write this one. Let's execute and see. Let's execute and see now. The shape is not a square. It's not a square. Let me change why he's saying it's not a square, because those are 5 and 10. I'm going to change the 10 to 5. So the width, the set date, so set data, the width and the height, they have the same measurement. We say not square. 5 and 5 means it's a square. Let's see now. The shape is a square. The shape is square. It works very fine. So here, success. We did it. We did it. We did it. So here, this way, actually, I believe that we are able to manipulate the data types also in this class. I'll stop the record. I'll give you the record, and also I need you to output or submit the result, please, later on.